Hello, and a warm welcome to all of you joining us today. I'm Teresa Walters, the Vice President for Health and Human Services here at MusiCares. For more than 30 years, MusiCares has been a safety net for music professionals in the United States. We help the humans behind the music because music gives so much to the world. In recognition of World Mental Health Day, MusiCares is so honored to have Chad Lawson joining us today to guide us on a breathwork experience. While you already know and love Chad as a Billboard chart-topping new age artist and Steinway pianist and composer, Chad is also a highly respected leader shining light on mental health around the globe. Chad is the first and only musician to serve as a UN ambassador for the World Federation for Mental Health. He's a certified breathwork coach and creator and host of the wellness podcast, Calm It Down. MusiCares is so delighted to collaborate with Chad because of our shared vision to grow awareness about mental health and provide tools and resources to nurture your mental health. MusiCares knows that being a music professional can be challenging and stressful, so we provide support to music professionals to access and cover the cost for therapy and addiction treatment, as well as costs from other unanticipated life circumstances like medical conditions, a loss of work, basic living needs, and more. On World Mental Health Day, we want all music professionals to know that MusiCares is here for you. You can learn more and access support at musicares.org. And while MusiCares is a safety net for music professionals in their time of need, we also provide tools to allow us to care for and protect our mental health. It's for this reason that I'm so pleased to partner with Chad. In our session today, Chad will be guiding us through a breathwork experience. One of the most powerful instruments we have to care for our mental health is already inside of us, our breath. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome Chad Lawson, and I know that today is going to be a wonderful, calming, and restorative experience for you. Chad.
Thank you so much, Teresa. That means so much, and especially just hearing how much MusiCares has an influence and the impact of what you are all doing. So it means a lot to be here. Today, I want to show you how to create space. And I know as musicians, I know as composers and performers, a lot of times space almost seems awkward. It almost seems like we're really uncomfortable with space because a lot of times, well, space is where the quiet is, right? And so for many of us, it's almost unsettling, almost uncomfortable. But I wanted to show you the importance of space and why space matters. So since we're all musicians, I'm just going to be honest with this. Do you know those gigs sometimes where someone shows up and you're just like, oh, why is that person on the gig? I thought it was going to be so-and-so. Oh yeah, well, so-and-so, they couldn't make it. They had to bail like last minute. Well, I don't like playing with so-and-so. And there's like this tension, this rub all of a sudden, right? And so you do the entire, gig, and you're just thinking nonstop. I mean, like, why is this person here? I mean, this was going to be so fun. This was going to be so great. I was really like looking forward to this performance, to this show, to this gig, and just ruins it, right? And then afterwards, you're breaking down, and they come over, and they're like, "Oh man, I really enjoyed playing with you." And you're like, "I just need some time. Can I just get some space?" And you're like, hey, anytime you have gigs, just let me know. I'd love to. Okay, man. Okay, right. Have you ever had those gigs? We all have, right? And what I want to turn this around now is imagine that sometimes that's our thoughts, especially when it comes to how we think about ourselves, right? Because a lot of times, like, we are our own worst thought. We're about to do something that we really enjoy. And then all of a sudden, like, a thought comes in, like, oh, right? I got that bill. I've got this thing that's coming up. I have that, my playing is horrible, right? And then afterwards, people come up and they're like, hey man, that was really great. I really enjoyed hearing you. It was really wonderful to hear you play, wonderful to hear you sing. And your mind was like nowhere in it because you were so concerned with what you were telling yourself. And so the reason why I'm bringing all this up is because as a musician, I've had this many times. And it's taken me a long time to learn how to create space Because in the space is the distance of where those thoughts are. Because most of the time, our mind wants to be anywhere but here. It wants to be anywhere but present, no matter what we're putting our hands to, even to a performance sometimes, because we're so overwhelmed with all the thoughts that we're thinking. And most of the time, they're the same thoughts, and most of the time, they're actually negative. But when we learn how to create some space, some distance from that thought, we can actually be present. We can actually enjoy what we're supposed to be doing, which is creating, which is having fun, which is playing music, which is writing, which is the reason why we do this, right? Because then, as you know, as Teresa said earlier, your role, what you're doing, is you're bringing life to others through your music. You have a note that is reaching people that they've never heard before. And so I want to show you how to create space in doing this. Now, it's really, here, let me show you. If you would, I want to show you how to just take a moment just to find some centered space and to just feel present. Because a lot of times I hear from people, I try to meditate, but it's just me closing my eyes and just thinking the same things over and over, and I don't know what to do. So let me show you. If you would, no one's watching, it's okay. Close your eyes. Now what I'd like for you to do is I want you to wait for me to play a note. No peeking, don't look, just wait for me to play the note, okay? So just with your eyes closed, and just wait. And when I play this note, keep your eyes closed and wait for the next note. With your eyes still closed, keep them closed. I want you to notice how you feel right now. I want you to notice how your shoulders feel. I want you to notice that your tongue is relaxed, your neck is relaxed, your eyes are relaxed, your shoulders are relaxed. And just take a gentle exhale and slowly open your eyes. Going back to the idea that our mind wants to be anywhere but here. So how do we train our mind to be here? Because when we train our mind to be here, then we're training our mind to create space. Because here's why it's important to have this space. There are three things that we all go through. We have the thought, we have the feeling from the thought, and then we have the reaction. So I'll say it again. So we have thought, we have feeling, and we have the reaction. And that person that unexpectedly showed up to the gig that you weren't excited to play with, there's your thought of like, oh man. And then the feeling of like, this is going to be a long gig. I don't even want to be here, right? And then the reaction is completely just going through and not even being creative. Not even enjoying the time that you're doing it. Not even really bringing the light of creativity that we have been given to do. Thought, feeling, reaction. And a big reason why we have a difficult time with this is because our mind, again, has so much that it's focusing on that it wants to be anywhere but the present, but we haven't given it something to actually pay attention to. We haven't given it a reason to ignore the fact that there's someone on the gig that maybe you don't enjoy playing with, right? Because maybe if we are able to distance ourselves from the thought and the feeling and the reaction and create some space in between those, we actually might be able to enjoy it regardless. And so if you notice, when your eyes were closed and you were waiting for that note, you weren't thinking about anything else for the most part. Your mind may have wandered back and forth a little bit, but for the most part, you were waiting to hear a note. So we were giving our mind one thing to focus on. And so what I want to show you is when we do that, notice how you felt. Notice how you felt relaxed. Notice how you felt just present. Because when we learn to be present, then we learn to actually be able to enjoy what we're doing. Because when we're present, what we're creating is going to resonate with others. And that is the whole purpose of the craft that we do. Our whole purpose is to resonate with the listener, with the audience. And we can't bring that note. We can't bring that song. We can't bring that beautiful color if it's not going to resonate, because our mind is not in that moment. Now, as lovely as it would be for me to follow you around everywhere and to just, have you close your eyes and play the piano, it's not really realistic. And also it's kind of creepy. You don't want me following you around with the piano everywhere you go. So I'm going to show you a different way of doing this. And it's by your breath, just as Teresa mentioned a bit ago. So if you think about it, that note that we were waiting to hear, that's what I like to call our anchor. That gives us something for our mind to focus on. And so when our mind begins to wander, we come back to waiting for that sound. Well, the same thing for your breath. Because your breath is very similar. It's something that's always with you. It's something that's never going to be exactly the same every single time. But it's also an anchor that we can hold on to, that we can listen to, that we can feel. And that's the whole point of what we're trying to do when we create, is to make something to feel so someone can resonate with this, what we're creating. So if you would, before we even do anything like counting or anything like that at all, I just want you to notice when you breathe, are you breathing through your stomach or are you breathing through your chest? Have you ever tried this? Have you ever stopped to think about it? So try it. Without being overly aware, without really paying attention, just take a normal breath. And then notice if you're breathing through your stomach or if you're breathing through your chest. Which one does it make your hand rise? Because what we want to do is we want to transition our breathing down to our stomach. Because when we are inhaling through our stomach is going to expand. Our diaphragm is going to expand. And then when we exhale, it contracts. It comes back. But for some, we breathe through our chest. That's the first place that we bring air into. And then we exhale. Did you see how laborious that was? Did you see how much effort that took for me to do, even just with that? When we breathe through our stomach, when we inhale through our stomach first, that's hitting a switch. That's telling our mind, it's telling our body, it's telling our nervous system, hey, you know what? I'm in a safe space right now. I'm okay. Right? But when we start breathing through our chest, we're in that space of waiting for something really terrible to happen. Or maybe a lion just walked in the room. Or maybe we get stressed. Right? And so what we're trying to do is avoid that, because that is engaging the part of our body of saying, hey, tense up, something is about to happen. But a lot of times we are constantly in that state. I love telling this story, and I'll try to make it really short. But, my family, my wife and I, we have 2 young boys. And for a season, my wife and I and our oldest son, we had bikes that had gears on it, and our youngest didn't. And so he was always behind whenever we were doing bike rides. So one year for Christmas, he got a bike with gears on it. And so he was so excited. And so the very first day he was out there, he was riding all day long, just loved it. And the second day, for the most part, the same. By the third day, he did maybe half the day. And by the fourth day, it just stayed in the garage, 5th day staying in the garage. And so I finally went to him and I was like, buddy, why is your bike in the garage? You were so excited about it. And he was like, it's hard. It's hard to ride. I'm like, okay, well, let's go look at it, And so we go out to the garage and I look at it. He had the gears in the highest setting, in the highest gear. I was like, buddy, yeah, this is in the highest gear. This is why it's so difficult. He's like, what? And so I showed him how to bring it down to the lowest gear on his bike. And he was like, you can do that? And it was so much easier for him to ride. Well, it's the same thing when we breathe. When we are breathing through our chest, especially nonstop, which some of us do, we're going in our highest gear. We are stressing ourselves out. And so what I wanted you to do is transition, if you can, to begin to start doing this through your stomach, because it's going to make a world's difference. Now you're like, okay, Chad, so how is this going to help me on the gig? What is this going to allow me to do? When we begin to understand the importance of breathing and how to breathe effectively, then we begin to create that space from the thought, feeling, and reaction. Now, there's a technique that I love to show you, and it's called box breathing. And if you would, imagine just an imaginary box, right? 4 sides. Top of this box, we're going to inhale for count of 4. And on the side of the box, we're going to hold that for count of 4. The bottom of that, we're going to exhale for count of 4. And then on the side, the final side, we're going to hold for 4. So it's inhale, hold, exhale, hold. Okay. And I'm actually going to do all the counting for you. So you don't even have to worry about counting. All right. Let me show you. So every time I play a note or chord, that is one side of the box. Okay. So for instance, if I were to play a chord, that's inhale, hold, and I'll walk you through it. Exhale, hold. So again, not yet, but I'll show you. Inhale, hold, exhale, hold. And again, I will walk you through this. So I'm going to play this for a little bit and I'm going to guide you through it. And then eventually I'm going to allow you to just breathe and do this on your own, because I want you to feel the experience of this on your own. Okay. So for a little while, I'm going to go around the box and then eventually I'm going to move away. And that's kind of your cue just to be able to stay in that moment of feeling your breath, feeling how it feels, just to breathe in, feeling your stomach rise, and then also just listening to the music. Now your mind will wander. That is what minds do. It's protecting us. It's doing its job. But when this happens, I want you to come back to noticing what it feels like when you take an inhale and an exhale out of your stomach. Okay? So again, here we go. If you would just take a gentle inhale, gentle exhale. We're going to go around the box. So again, when I play a note or a chord. So here's your inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Keep doing this on your own. Just notice the sound. Notice the feeling of your breath right now. Just a long exhale. Stay there. Stay there. Keep your eyes closed. Notice your breath right now. Notice how slow it is. With your eyes closed, notice what it feels like right now. And just with a gentle exhale, slowly open your eyes. Okay, so how does this relate? Where's the glue in all of this, right? Yes, you've talked about, dealing with the thoughts, dealing with the feeling from the thoughts, and then the reaction. Well, the reaction is the most important part, which is why it's last. When we are able to create space between the thought and the feeling, instead of seeing that person, or instead of playing that wrong chord, or instead of just hearing that comment, or all the things, fill in the blank, instead of having that quick feeling from that thought, and then that quick reaction of that, we're learning how to create space emotionally to where we're understanding like those things, those outside influences. They're exactly that. Simply outside influences. I teach my kids this all the time, to the point where they're tired of hearing it. But the only thing that we can control is how we react. I'm going to say that again. In life, the only thing we can control is how we react. And if we don't have a mechanism in place to safeguard that reaction, we're going to react to everything, sometimes without even realizing it. And so what I'm wanting to show you is when we create space, we're distancing that reaction from that thought and feeling. And so we're able to actually say, you know what? That's okay. Because I want my mind here. I want my mind to be present with what I'm doing right now. I want to enjoy this. Even if the outside influences are trying to weigh in and trying to put their opinion and their voice and their rub into something, I'm not going to allow that to affect this beautiful moment that I showed up for to be a part of anyway. And when you allow yourself the time, the 2 minutes in the morning and 2 minutes in the evening before going to bed, to where you're just simply feeling your stomach rise and fall. Or if you just close your eyes and you're sitting outside, and instead of a piano, maybe instead of listening to your breath, you're listening for the birds, or you're listening for the wind, or you're listening for whatever it may be. But taking 2 minutes to just simply notice how it feels to feel. We live in a time where we've seen everything. We have. We live in a time where we have heard everything. But we also live in a time where we no longer feel anything. And so my purpose here today was to show you how to feel. And we learn how to feel when we create space. Because when we create space, we create distance between our thought, between our feelings, and the reaction of that. I hope this has been helpful for you. I hope that when you wake up in the morning, before you touch your phone, before you even open your eyes, and especially before you put your feet on the ground, that you just take 2 minutes and just notice your stomach rise and your stomach fall. And the day will come. It will. The day that's ahead of you, it's going to happen. So set yourself up for it in a way that is you in control instead of the outside influences. And then at the end of the day, when you put your head on the pillow, you're about to hit that light switch, just take 2 minutes. Notice the rise and the fall of your stomach. And then go around the box. Go around the box breathing. Go around the square to where you're counting 4 counts. And eventually you're counting 5 counts, and then 6 counts, and then 7. I have a feeling that when you start doing 7, you're going to fall asleep. So for those that are having troubles falling asleep, give it a shot. Teresa, I want to thank you. I want to thank you and everyone at MusiCares for just giving me this opportunity to just share what little I've learned in life about how to feel, how to be present, how to have my mind here so that what we are creating does resonate with our audience. It means so much. Give yourself some grace, give yourself some kindness, and thank you all so much. It means a lot. Thank you.
That was amazing.
Thanks. Oh, thanks.